Before you even think about moving your thumb, pause. Something unseen has already leaned closer to you. This isn't random, and it's not noise in your feed. There is a reason your chest feels tight right now, a reason your focus sharpened the moment you landed here. This message doesn't chase everyone. It waits, and somehow, without planning it, you arrived at the exact second you were meant to. Stay with me. Just breathe. Because what's unfolding right now doesn't repeat, and it doesn't knock twice. There is a moment when the unseen world goes quiet, when everything pauses, just to see if one soul will stay present long enough to receive what was prepared for them. That moment is happening now. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle pull. That inner whisper saying, "Don't leave yet." That's not imagination. That's alignment. Something far bigger than coincidence has drawn a line around this moment, and you are standing inside it. You didn't stumble onto these words. You were guided. There has been a quiet watching over your life for longer than you realize. Every delay, every detour, every night you questioned why nothing seemed to move forward, none of it was wasted. You were being positioned. And right now, the positioning is complete. The reason your attention feels locked in is because something has begun to unlock around you. The atmosphere shifted the instant you arrived. Time didn't stop for the world, it narrowed for you. This is what it feels like when destiny leans in close. Stay here. Don't rush, don't multitask. This moment asks for your full presence. There are doors that only open when someone is willing to stand still long enough to notice them. You've spent so long surviving noise, pressure, expectations, disappointment that silence itself feels unfamiliar. But this silence is different. It's charged. It's waiting. And it's holding something with your name on it. You've been underestimated, overlooked. You've carried things quietly that others would have collapsed under. You learned to keep going without applause. You learned to smile while carrying questions you couldn't explain, and heaven noticed. Every tear you wiped away before anyone saw, every time you kept your integrity when it cost you comfort, every time you chose patience when anger would have been easier. None of it disappeared. It accumulated, it built weight, and now that weight is shifting not onto you but off of you. If you leave now, it won't feel dramatic. Nothing will flash. No warning will scream. You'll just feel that familiar heaviness return later and wonder why. But if you stay, something subtle yet irreversible begins, because this moment was designed as a checkpoint, a dividing line, a narrow passage that only opens for those who don't rush past it. There has been a countdown around your life, even when you couldn't see it. Not a countdown of loss, a countdown of release. You've been closer than you think for longer than you know. The resistance you felt recently wasn't delay, it was pressure before breakthrough. Pressure always increases right before a shift. That's why distractions suddenly multiplied. That's why doubt tried to get louder. That's why walking away would feel easier than staying present. But you're still here, and that matters more than you understand. Right now, something unseen is leaning toward your future. Threads that were tangled are beginning to loosen. Patterns that repeated without explanation are losing their grip. You may not see anything change yet, but you can feel it like the air before a storm, except this storm brings clarity, not destruction. You were never forgotten. You were hidden, protected while things aligned behind the scenes. There are outcomes that can only be given to people who didn't harden their heart while waiting. And you didn't. You questioned, yes. You grew tired, yes. But you didn't become cruel, you didn't lose your sensitivity, you didn't stop believing there was more, even when you couldn't prove it. That's why this message reached you now and not earlier. You wouldn't have recognized it before. Stay with this feeling, let it settle instead of trying to explain it away. The mind always wants proof before presence, but this works in reverse. Presence comes first. Proof follows. There is a thin place opening, a space where what you've been asking for quietly can finally cross into reality. It won't arrive loudly. It will arrive precisely, and it will rearrange things in ways that make sense only later. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are exactly on the edge of a turning point that requires one thing from you right now: stillness. This is not about fear. It's about awareness. About recognizing that some moments carry weight and rushing through them costs more than waiting ever could. Something that has been stalled is responding to your attention right now. Something that has been held back is watching to see if you remain receptive. And here's the truth most people never hear: not everyone is meant to receive at the same time. Some messages are timed. Some openings are selective. Some doors recognize frequency before they recognize effort, and your frequency shifted the moment you chose to stay. There is protection around you that you didn't earn, it was assigned. There is guidance that didn't come from logic, it came from alignment. And there is a future version of you that is already breathing easier because of what you're doing right now. Don't rush the ending. Don't look ahead yet. Let this moment complete what it started. Because when this passes, it won't return in the same form. You'll feel lighter, clearer, more anchored. You were meant to hear this at this exact second. And the fact that you stayed is already the first sign that something has shifted. Something deeper is happening now, and you can feel it settling into your awareness like a slow wave. This is the part where most people never arrive, because staying requires trust, not urgency. You're still here because something inside you recognizes that this moment isn't loud, it's precise. What's unfolding now isn't meant to impress the world, it's meant to realign you. There has been a quiet record kept of your life, not of your mistakes, but of your endurance. Every time you chose not to quit when no one would have blamed you. Every time you kept your heart open even when it would have been easier to shut down. Those moments stacked up unseen, building toward this exact intersection. Right now, a layer is peeling back, not dramatically, gently, like fog lifting without anyone announcing it. You may notice memories surfacing, things you thought you were over, moments you didn't fully understand at the time. That's not regression. That's release. Old weight can't come forward with you, and it's finally being acknowledged so it can let go. The reason it feels emotional isn't because something bad is coming, it's because something heavy is leaving. You've lived through seasons where you gave more than you received, where effort didn't equal outcome, where silence answered prayers that deserved clarity. And yet, you stayed soft. That matters, because softness is not weakness, it's access, and access is what's opening now. There is a recalibration happening in how things respond to you. Situations that once drained you will begin to lose interest. Conversations that felt forced will fade naturally, and opportunities that once felt distant will start finding you without chase or strain. This is what alignment looks like before it becomes visible, subtle, internal, undeniable once it completes. You may have felt like you were walking in circles, repeating lessons, revisiting the same emotional terrain. But that wasn't failure, that was refinement. Some paths only unlock once the internal version of you is ready to walk them. And readiness isn't about confidence, it's about honesty. You've become honest with yourself in ways you weren't before. About what you can't carry anymore. About what you actually want. About what you're no longer willing to accept just to feel chosen. Here's something rarely said out loud: not every delay is resistance. Some delays are protection from receiving too soon. What you're moving toward now requires a steadier version of you, the kind that doesn't self-sabotage when things finally go right. That steadiness is forming now. That's why this moment feels calm instead of explosive. It's not trying to excite you, it's anchoring you. As this settles, you might notice a strange mix of relief and anticipation, like you're standing at the edge of something but not being rushed over it. That's intentional. Rushed transitions break people. Grounded transitions rebuild them. There has been a quiet separation happening in your life, not from people alone, but from old identities. Versions of you that survived but no longer fit. Roles you played to keep peace. Masks you wore to stay safe. Those versions serve their purpose. They got you here, but they cannot go with you forward, and that's okay. Nothing is being taken from you without being replaced by something truer. You are not meant to struggle for alignment anymore. You are meant to recognize it. That's the shift. When things begin to flow, your instinct might be to question it, to brace for loss, to look for the catch. That instinct was learned in survival mode. You're leaving that mode now, slowly, gently, but definitively. There is also a restoration happening, not just of outcomes, but of perception. You're starting to see yourself more clearly. Less through the lens of what went wrong, more through the truth of what you endured and still kept intact. That clarity changes how you move. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you attract. pay attention over the next stretch of time, not for signs to chase, but for ease that arrives unannounced. The conversation that feels lighter, the decision that suddenly feels obvious, the opportunity that doesn't require you to shrink to fit it. These aren't accidents, they're confirmations. You were never meant to fight your way into your future. You were meant to align with it. And alignment always begins internally, long before circumstances follow. What's important now is not to force meaning onto this moment, but to let it do its work. Let the calm settle. Let the resistance dissolve. Let your nervous system realize that it's safe to receive without earning through exhaustion. This is the turning point where preparation quietly becomes permission, where the internal maybe someday turns into now. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. The shift will speak for itself through what no longer drains you and what suddenly responds to you. And here's the part meant just for you. You are not entering something fragile. What's opening is stable, sustainable, designed to hold you without breaking you. That's why it took time. That's why you had to grow. That's why this moment feels grounded instead of chaotic. Stay present a little longer. Let this layer finish settling, because the next part doesn't arrive as a feeling, it arrives as movement. And when it does, you'll realize that what you thought was waiting was actually preparing to meet you halfway. Now the shift begins to move outward, and you'll notice it not as noise but as motion. Things that were frozen start responding. Paths that felt blocked soften at the edges. You don't have to push. Movement meets you. This is how you'll know it's real. When effort reduces and results increase. When you stop chasing clarity and it starts showing up in real time. The reason this feels unfamiliar is because you're used to fighting for progress. This phase doesn't ask for force. It asks for presence. Pay attention to what starts changing without struggle. A message arrives at the right moment. A decision that once felt heavy suddenly feels obvious. A door opens that you stopped knocking on. These aren't random improvements. They're evidence of momentum finally aligning with you. Momentum doesn't announce itself, it carries you. There will be a moment soon when you realize you're no longer reacting the way you used to. Old triggers lose their power. Old fears don't grip as tightly. The urgency to explain yourself fades. That's growth catching up with timing. That's your internal world sensing with what's ready to arrive. Something important to understand: this isn't a reward for being perfect. It's a response to your endurance. You stayed when it was easier to disappear. You chose honesty over comfort. You kept going without certainty. That kind of faith, quiet, unadvertised, creates openings that noise never can. You may notice that certain people drift away without conflict. Let them. Their role was tied to a version of you that has already completed its assignment. You're not losing support, you're refining it. What remains will feel lighter, clearer, more mutual. Opportunities will start to feel different too. Less chaotic, less draining, more aligned with who you actually are, not who you pretended to be to survive. You won't have to betray yourself to access what's coming. That era is ending. Here's where trust matters most. When things start to work, don't shrink. Don't self-sabotage by questioning your worthiness. You're not stepping into something accidental. You're stepping into something timed. And timing doesn't require apology. There is a protection around this next chapter that you can't see but will feel. Things that once knocked you off course will lose their reach. Confusion won't stick. Distractions won't hook you the same way. It's not that challenges disappear, it's that they no longer define direction. You'll also notice your intuition sharpening. Decisions come faster. Red flags appear earlier. Green lights feel calmer instead of frantic. That's alignment becoming instinct. Trust it. You don't need external permission anymore. What's opening now isn't loud success, it's sustainable momentum. The kind that doesn't burn you out. The kind that builds instead of consumes. That's why this shift required patience. Anything rushed would have collapsed under its own weight. And here's the quiet truth meant just for you. You were never behind. You were early, too early for what you were trying to step into. Now the environment has caught up. Now the conditions are right. Now the pieces can hold what's coming. Over the next stretch of time, life will feel less like a test and more like a collaboration. You'll feel supported in ways you didn't know you needed. Not everything will make sense immediately, but it will feel right. And that's enough. This is the moment where you stop bracing for impact and start moving with intention, where hope becomes grounded instead of fragile, where belief turns practical. Stay aware, stay steady, stay open. You've crossed the threshold already. What happens next doesn't need forcing, it unfolds. You were guided here for a reason. You stayed for a reason. And what comes next will confirm it in ways that don't need explanation. Now comes the part where protection seals itself around what has begun. This is where the noise thins out and the path narrows, not to limit you, but to guard what's unfolding. When something valuable starts moving, it doesn't need exposure, it needs covering. That's what's happening now. You may notice a sudden desire to be more selective with your energy, your words, your plans. That's not withdrawal. That's wisdom activating. There will be moments when you feel guided to say less, not more, to move quietly, not loudly, to let results speak instead of announcements. Follow that instinct. What's forming around you grows best without interference. Not everyone needs access to your becoming. Some people only recognize value once it's finished, and by then their role has passed. You might also feel an internal firmness where there used to be doubt, not arrogance, not hardness, just a steady knowing, the kind that doesn't need validation. That firmness is your new foundation. It's what allows you to stand in opportunity without bending yourself to fit it. Be aware, when alignment strengthens, distractions often make one last attempt. Old patterns may resurface briefly. Familiar temptations may knock softly. Not because you're failing, but because they sense they're losing influence. You don't need to fight them. Recognition alone dissolves their power. You're not who you were when those patterns worked. Something else will happen quietly. Your relationship with time will change. You'll feel less rushed, even when things are moving faster. That's a sign of internal order. When urgency fades, precision increases. Decisions land cleaner, choices feel lighter. You begin responding instead of reacting. This is also where boundaries solidify without effort. You'll notice it becomes easier to say no without guilt, easier to walk away without explanation, easier to protect your peace without justifying it. That's not selfishness. That's self-respect finally taking its rightful place. Pay attention to what brings calm instead of adrenaline. That's where you're meant to build now. Chaos used to feel like momentum. It isn't anymore. Stability will feel like growth, even if it looks quieter from the outside. You're entering a phase where consistency matters more than intensity. Small aligned actions will carry more power than dramatic bursts. Trust that. The shift you're in isn't about proving anything. It's about maintaining what's been entrusted to you. There may be moments when you feel unseen again, but this time it won't sting the same way. You'll understand the difference between being hidden and being ignored. One protects, the other dismisses. Right now, you're protected. As this chapter settles, you'll start to recognize how far you've come without measuring it against anyone else. Comparison loses its grip when purpose becomes personal. Your path doesn't need to look impressive to be effective. It just needs to be true. Let this phase mature naturally. Don't rush visibility. Don't rush recognition. What's built slowly holds weight longer. When the time comes for others to see, it will be undeniable, and you won't need to chase their attention. This is the quiet strength before expansion, the grounding before reach, the sealing before release. Stay steady, stay observant, stay anchored. What's been set in motion now is protected, guided, and moving with intention, and you are exactly where you're meant to be as it unfolds.